So I mentioned the word Shudra and Vaishya while explaining the Ashvamedha sacrifice, right? So in this topic we will learn about Vaishya and Shudra. Okay, so as I told, Varna system was introduced during the later Vedic period. That is the period where the later Vedic texts were composed. That is Samaveda, Yajurveda, and Atharvana Veda. So we know that these Vedas were composed by priests and sages. So there were some set of rules to follow in these Vedas. So, who should all perform the sacrifices and how the sacrifices had to be performed? All such rules were given in this Vedas. Okay, so in the society, there were different kinds of people. Okay, so that they including farmers, herders, hunters, gatherers, craftsmen, fishing folks, priests, rajas, and the traders, merchants, everyone. Okay, so what the priests did was they divided people into four groups, and in this society, Brahmins, merchants, traders, kshatriyas were considered to be the rich people of the society, and people such as craftspersons, fishing folks, herders, they were considered to be the poor people in this society. So based on this, the priests divided people into four groups. That is called the Varna system. Okay, so the first Varna was Brahmin. That is, so priests were included. They were expected to study and teach Vedas and perform sacrifices and receive the gifts. So each Varna had different set of functions to perform. Okay, so Brahmins had to study and teach Vedas, and whereas the Kshatriyas had to fight battles and protect the people, and the Vaishyas were herders, traders, and merchants. Okay, so next is the Shudras. Shudras were expected to serve the other three Varnas or the groups, and they were not allowed to perform any sacrifice or ritual. They were not even allowed to spectate it sometimes. Okay, so often even women were considered in this Varna only. Okay, so as time passed, people started to oppose the system of Varnas. So, because priests divided people into four groups based on their birth and occupation. Okay, so people started to oppose that the people should not be divided into groups based on the occupation and birth. And Kshatriyas believed that they were superior to the Brahmins. Okay, and the practice of untouchability was opposed. So, Shudras were often included in this wrong practice. Okay, so they were considered as untouchables. So, this practice of untouchability was opposed, and some people also felt that every person should be able to perform the ritual, and it was wrong not allowing the Shudras to perform the rituals. So, they opposed the system of Varnas. All kinds of people oppose the system of Varnas. Okay, so next we will learn about Janapadas. Okay, so now we will study about the Janapadas. So we know the meaning of Jana. We have learned that in the last chapter. So Jana means people. Okay, so the Rajas who performed the sacrifices, they became most powerful rulers. They were not only the rulers for Jana, they became the ruler for the Janapadas. So Jana means people and Pada means the place where the Jana set its foot and settle. So Janapada means the land where Jana had settled. That is, the settlement of Janas were called Janapadas. Okay. So in the settlements of Janapadas, so some of the settlements of Janapadas were Purana Khila in Delhi, Hastinapura near Meerut, Atranjikhera near Etah. Okay, so Meerut and Etah these are the regions from the present day state called Uttar Pradesh. Okay, so archaeologists excavated some of the settlements, that is these settlements. Okay, so archaeologists excavated these Janapada settlements. There they they got to know that people lived in huts, and they also used to rear cattle and other animals, and they grew crops such as wheat, rice, barley, sesame seeds, mustard seeds, pulses, and sugarcane. So the new crop which was grown during the Janapadas was the sugarcane. Okay, so they also found some earthen pots in the settlements of the Janapadas. Okay, so they were specially called as painted grey ware. As the name itself says, so the pots were grey in color and they had painted designs on it. Okay, so the designs were usually the geometric shapes and lines. So these painted grey ware were mostly used in special occasions for special people and for serving some special kind of food. Okay, so painted grey ware were normal vessels such as plates and bowls. So they found huts. They found that people from the Janapada lived in huts and they reared cattle and other animals. They also grew crops and they also grew a new crop, that is sugarcane, and they used earthen pots, one of which was called as painted grey ware, which was unique from the other type of pots. Okay, so this is all about the Janapadas and the Janapada settlements. Next, we will learn about the Mahajanapada and their settlements. Now, we will know about the Mahajanapadas. So, 2500 years ago, some Janapadas became more important than the others. They were called as the Mahajanapadas. Okay, so Mahajanapadas had a capital city, and the kings started fortifying the cities. Okay, so the kings of the Mahajanapadas started to fortify the city, and they also had a capital city. Okay, so they started to fortify that city. Okay, so fortification or fortifying means, so around the city, building huge walls from all the directions, okay, or all the four sides, walls will be built. So if this is the city, walls will be built. So huge walls like this will be built around the city in all the directions. So these walls were built from wood, brick, or stones. So now, why did kings uh, fortify the cities? So maybe for the protection of people from the attack of the other kings, to protect people in that city from the attack of other kings, or to show how rich and powerful he was to his, so to show how rich and powerful he was. Okay, so the king, they built forts, maybe even to show how rich they were by building huge walls. Okay, and by building these walls around the city, they easily got control over the people and even the land. So they were able to easily control the people inside that forts. Okay, so the people living inside the forts were easily controlled by the king of the Mahajanapada. Okay, so and to build forts, we need planning, right? We cannot just build something and call it a wall or fort. Okay, so for building forts or walls, planning was to be made. And to build forts, what do we need? So we need resources and laborers, right? So by building forts, traders got job, that is they had to run around for resources, and by this trade also improved, and they all many men, women and children got labor from the process of fortification or building the forts. Okay, so people got advantages of building the fort, that is they got labor, so they got protection from the king. Okay, so all these were the advantages for the common people because of the fortification. Okay, so now the kings of the Mahajanapadas had a capital city, and he controlled his city easily because of the forts. He also got to protect people from the attack of other kings. Okay, now what more does the Raja need? So he needed an army. Okay, so he needed a army or soldiers to look after or control all these. Okay, so he maintained armies, so the soldiers were paid regularly by the Raja throughout the year. So these soldiers were paid using punch marked coins. Okay, so these punch marked coins were given as payment to the soldiers. Okay, so now as the Raja is building forts and he also started maintaining the armies, so he need some revenue. Okay, so what the Raja of Mahajanapada do? So he introduced the system of taxes. We will learn about taxes.